Dr. Sukantas here. As you all know, I'm a consultant in nephrology and I'm also a keen observer of geopolitics. For those of you who are aware of my book, A Disrupted World, must be quite aware of this. Now, for the last 2 to 3 days, the talk that has been prevailing in global chatters is, yes, you are aware of it, the stunning victory of Donald Trump in US presidential elections. Now, Donald Trump is the person who has had several legal battles. He was the most unlikeliest candidates to have even got a Republican nomination, but they didn't find anyone else. So he went on to have the last laugh, as he has had a thumping victory, as he will be going to the Oval Office in the White House as the 47th President of United States of America. Now, he will be the only second person in history of United States to have won 2 non-consecutive terms. No one has done it ever since for more than 100 years. Way back in 1893, it was Cleveland who had got this done, but those were different days and different times. Now, there are all sorts of reactions, from disappointment to excitement, from surprise to indifference, and the woke and pseudo-liberals, as many would say, are quite disappointed. But more importantly, what are the implications for America and beyond of Donald Trump's victory? Now, we all know that America is the #1 nation, the most powerful nation in the world as far as military is concerned, as far as economics and finance is concerned. Even though it's too early to jump the gun, most of us know that Trump would often hit the ground running. And people have seen a Trump presidency before, so they may not find it unusual, but he is predictably unpredictable. So it would be interesting to see how he comes up in his term this time. If we can dissect and dive a little bit into his speech on the victory day, he has clearly stated that this was a moment, or this was the greatest movement in the history of America, and he needs to heal the country, and the country needs a lot of healing. Also, he believes that his life was spared for a reason. Remember, there were 2 assassination attempts. In the first one, he almost got killed as the bullet brushed past his ear. So he believes that his life was spared for a reason. The reason is quite obvious for us. And he believes that he has been entrusted with the task of making America great again. Now, how he's going to do that, and more importantly, for the rest of the world and for people of India especially, what it all means for all of us. Now, he himself has stated that what he has been given is the greatest job, the most important job in the world, and we all realize that the President of America is not just the President of America. He is the person who is in the driver's seat, making policies and making critical decisions especially in the European continent, as also in the Middle East, and of course in most parts of the world. Even the Asian subcontinent, most of the decisions, most of the games are being remotely controlled by United States of America. Now, there are 5 major areas we will look into and break down to look how the impact of Trump's administration is going to be this time. One is the wars. The second one, of course, is climate. The third one is trade or finance. The fourth one is immigration. And the fifth, its implications for India and Indian relationship with China. Now, as many would have believed, Trump's first presidency was devoid of any wars. Many thought that Trump would drive the world into wars, but he was very fortunate. His first presidency was peaceful, though there was the COVID crisis towards the end of his presidency. In fact, Trump often would say that if he had been in power, October 7 would have never taken place. The war in Ukraine would have never taken place. Now, one needs to see whether Trump would be able to stop the global wars. There are so many wars going on in the world: a war in Europe, war in Ukraine, and of course the devastating war in Middle East. First, to talk about the war in Ukraine. Now, you know, Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine, has been fighting a war, and he has been holding his ground against the third most powerful military, after USA, China. Russia continues to be the third most militarily powerful nation in the world, and Zelenskyy has been holding his ground, but it's not without a support from United States and European allies, but majorly it is from United States. So is Trump going to continue the support to Zelenskyy, or should Zelenskyy be a worried man, or will he get the long arm has he been given so far, or will Trump ask the two nations to sit down and settle for a middle ground settlement? In that case, maybe the spoils of the war may be heavily tilted in favor of Putin, and you know that Trump has had very good relations with the Russian President Putin, even his previous terms and past years. So I think Putin would try to leverage those relations in his favor. Now, what about the war in Middle East? Of late, the global chatters have been critical of Netanyahu, and of course, his some experts would say that the incessant genocide that has been taking place in Middle East in lieu of in revenge attacks against the October 7 or whatever has taken place have gone beyond a point, and it would not have happened had it been not without a constant support militarily, financially and logistically from the United States. So would Netanyahu continue to get that support, or would Trump administration try to subdue things and stop as it is? And what about Iran? Iran and Trump have had a reasonably business-like equation, a very practical equation, and the Iranians are also very smart. They never get into a conflict very openly. They might have done it through different proxies, so they would not like to risk themselves or risking a major war with the United States, a major confrontation with the United States. So we'd like to see if Trump would resort to back channel diplomacy or would like to ocean an already deepening military crisis in the Middle East. So I think he is a businessman and he will try to hit a middle ground. Now, talking about businessman, what will be his impact on trade? Trump believes that he's smart with trade negotiations, but his desire to increase tariffs on international imports, many experts would say that would increase the taxes and would increase the cost of imports. So would, in other words, it instead of reducing the taxes on average Americans, it may backfire. So only time will say how this thing will play out. Now, when we look at the third important thing, climate, Trump has been a denier as far as global warming is concerned. So global warming, fossil fuels, these talks, as whenever Trump administration is there in the presidency, they will be out of the global chatter of discussion. In some way, many experts of late are believing that these climate discussions are more of a tabletop diplomacy and they do not go deep into the situations in the ground. And most important, fourth point where Trumpism matters is the issue on immigration, and Trump and his supporters have stated clearly that they want illegal immigrants out of America, even though their number may be in lakhs of thousands. But it's not going to be easy for legal immigrants either, but this is largely an issue concern for Americans. Now, as Indians, what is going to be Trump's equation with India, and especially with the Indian administration? Last few days, the Indian news channels are going mad over Trump's presidency. Even they are more excited than the United States news channels. And basically because, Trump has shared a wonderful relationship with Prime Minister Modi. They share a wonderful bonhomie and wonderful relationship. And this relationship has never been, they have never shied away from openly exposing and revealing this relationship on international platforms. May it be the hugs they have, the extended handshakes, and openly calling each other friends on global platforms. So I think all this is going to play in favor of India as far as we understand these matters. So I think we will have to understand how all these things play out. And for India, I think if things are not going to be better, things are not going to be worse either. Now, for those of you who would like to closely follow these things, let's see. These are very early days, and he is going to be sworn into office in January. There are still 2 months away from. So let's wait and see how what Trump has in store for us and what the world has in store for Trump. And now, for those of you who have seen my last video, I have told that I'll come up with reviews of 5 major autobiographies of the top most followed or well-read autobiographies of political leaders, and the first one would be that the life story of Mahatma Gandhi. So wait and watch. For those of you who are really interested, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for those of you who would like to read my book, I will down below in the description, I will share a link to my book on Amazon, A Disrupted World, which is a story of COVID and post-pandemic COVID world and the geopolitical concepts or geopolitical warfare or geopolitical turmoil that COVID created in this entire world. Till then, take care. Goodbye. God bless you all.